Hey everyone, welcome back to Vernacular Academy. मैं हूं आपके एडुकेटर और आज हम कवर करने जा रहे हैं लेक्चर 2 ऑफ चैप्टर 1 क्रिटिकल डेफिनेशंस। तो फ्रेंड्स, लेक्चर 1 में हमने कंपनी की पूरी फाउंडेशन रख दी, सेपरेट लीगल एंटिटी, कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स, क्लासिफिकेशन, होल्डिंग सब्सिडियरी, एसोसिएट। आज हम उठाते हैं सेक्शन 2 के वो डेफिनेशंस जो डायरेक्टली एग्जाम में पूछे जाते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल KMP, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर, ऑफिसर इन डिफॉल्ट, नेटवर्थ, फाइनेंशियल ईयर और बहुत सारे और भी। दीज डेफिनेशंस आर प्योर मार्क्स, सीधा सवाल सीधा जवाब, यहाँ कोई एम्बिग्विटी नहीं है। जो याद है मार्क्स मिल गए, जो नहीं याद उसके मार्क्स गए। सो लेट्स मेक श्योर कि आज के बाद ये सब याद रहें। तो चलते हैं, शुरू करते हैं। बिफोर वी स्टार्ट विद लेक्चर 2, विल गो विद क्विक रिकैप ऑफ लेक्चर 1। सो लेक्चर 1 के जो 5 की टेकअवेज हैं, हम क्विकली उनको रिवाइज कर लेते हैं। टेक अवे 1 क्या था? दैट कंपनी इज अ सेपरेट लीगल एंटिटी विच इज डिस्टिंक्ट फ्रॉम इट्स मेंबर्स। सोलोमन वर्सेस सोलोमन का 1897 का केस, जहां कंपनी एक बार इनकॉर्पोरेट हो गई तो कंपनी एक अलग पर्सन है। टेक अवे 2, कॉमन सील इज ऑप्शनल, इट इज नॉट मैंडेटरी। दिस इज अ लाइव एग्जाम ट्रैप, डोंट राइट मैंडेटरी। Then take away 3, lifting of corporate veil. The rule is separate legal entity. Lifting is the exception applied only in fraud, enemy character, tax evasion, and specific statutory provisions. Takeaway number 4, that private company has 3 restrictions. Transfer, 200 member ka cap, no public invitation. Subsidiary of a public company is also treated as a public company only. Then takeaway number 5, subsidiary requires more than 50% equity or board composition control or subsidiary of a subsidiary. Exactly 50% alone is not enough. So these are supposed to live in your memory. अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. So we'll take with block number 1, which is body corporate, director, independent director and member. First we'll see with corporate identity definitions. Now why this block matters? These definitions will tell you who the players are, the company itself in its broader sense, the people who run it, and the people who own it. पहले players पहचानो, फिर rule समझना easy हो जाता है. We'll start with body corporate, which is explained in section 2, subsection 11. So by definition, body corporate or corporation includes a company incorporated outside India, but does not include a cooperative society registered under any law relating to cooperative societies and any other body corporate not being a company as defined in this act, which the central government may by notification specify in this behalf. तो अब समझो, body corporate is a broader term than company. Every company is a body corporate, but not every body corporate is a company. एक सर्कल में सोचो कि एक सर्कल है, इमेजिन करो. सो उसमें आउटर सर्कल इज योर बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट एंड इनर सर्कल इज कंपनी. So company is a subset of body corporate. That can also be said. Now, why does this definition exist? Because the Companies Act sometimes imposes obligations on body corporates, meaning the rule applies not just to Indian companies, but to foreign companies and other incorporated entities operating in India. Now, what is included? Companies incorporated in India plus companies incorporated outside India. That is, the foreign companies are also included. And what is excluded? The exclusion क्या है? The cooperative societies, even though they are incorporated bodies, they are governed by their own Cooperative Societies Act. तो अब इसकी एक ट्रिक है कि बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट इज इक्वल टू कंपनी का बड़ा भाई. कंपनी भी बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट है, कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी नहीं है. नेक्स्ट वी विल सी द डायरेक्टर्स, व्हिच इज एक्सप्लेन्ड इन सेक्शन 2, subsection 34. So by definition, director means a director appointed to the board of a company. This is the entire statutory definition. 4 words of substance, simple. So why such a short definition, one may ask? Because director is a role defined by appointment. The real substance, who can be appointed, how, qualifications, disqualifications, duties, powers, all of this is dealt with in chapter 7, which is management and administration, which we'll cover in detail in lectures 16 to 23. For now, you can note this, that a director is someone appointed to the board, not an employee in general, not a shareholder by default. Appointed to the board is what makes someone a director. And since I've just referred to chapter 7, I'll just make it very clear to everybody, friends. We'll be going by the sequence of the ICAI study material. वो हमारा एक होली ग्रेल है, हम उसी को फॉलो करेंगे. Okay? So yes, now we'll move ahead with independent director, which is explained in section 2, subsection 47. Independent director means a non-executive director other than a nominee director who satisfies the criteria specified in subsection 6 of section 149. इतना डेफिनेशन में लिखा है, लेकिन सेक्शन 149 सबसेक्शन 6 ही असली कंटेंट है. दिस इज वेयर ऑल द क्राइटेरिया आर लेड आउट. व्हाई वर इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स क्रिएटेड? सोच के देखो. In a typical Indian promoter controlled company, the board is filled with promoter friendly directors who speak for the minority shareholders, who ask the hard questions, who ensures the company is not being run purely in the promoter's interest. So here, independent directors are mandated precisely to solve this problem. They are the voice of governance, objectivity, and minority protection on the board. Key criteria from section 149 subsection 6 is, it is as under, and this comes in exams. तो उसका criteria क्या है, हम वो देख लेते हैं. That an independent director must not be a promoter of the company or related to promoters or directors, must not be a KMP or relative of a KMP in the preceding 3 years, must not be having a pecuniary relationship with the company, its holding or subsidiary or associate, or its promoters or directors during the 2 preceding financial years beyond the permitted limits, must not be a partner or employee of a statutory statutory auditor, cost auditor, or secretarial auditor of the company in the preceding 3 financial years, must not be a CEO or director of a non-profit body that receives 25% or more of its receipts from the company, and must not be less than 21 years of age. तो यहाँ पे एक ट्रैप देख लेते हैं ICAI का कि स्टूडेंट्स क्या होते हैं, जनरली वो क्या लिखते हैं कि an independent director can be reappointed for a maximum of 2 terms of 5 years. This is correct on the terms, but students miss the cooling off period. After completing 2 consecutive terms, that is 10 years in total, an ID cannot be reappointed in that same company for at least 3 years. The 3 years is the trap. Students write it as 2 years. That is wrong. Next, we move to the definition of member, which is explained in section 2, subsection 55. So, member in relation to a company means the subscriber to the memorandum of the company who shall be deemed to have agreed to become a member, and on registration shall be entered in the register of members. And it also means every other person who agrees in writing to become a member and whose name is entered in the register of members, or every other person holding equity share capital of a company and whose name is entered as beneficial owner in the records of a depository. So there are 3 ways to become a member. Let's understand each. First is subscriber to memorandum. The founding people who sign the MOA, these are the founding people who sign the MOA. They become members the moment the company is registered, and no separate agreement is needed. Second is by subsequent members, the subsequent members. So these are anyone else who joins later. They agree in writing and get their name entered in the register of members. Then third way is depository based holding. So in today's world, most shares are held in demat form. The person whose name appears in the depository records are beneficial owner and they are the members. NSDL और CDSL maintain these records. तो 3 तरीके से मेंबर बनते हैं. एक बार फिर से एक्सप्लेन कर देती हूँ. पहले से साइन किया है MOA में, या बाद में रजिस्टर में नाम आया है, या डिपॉजिटरी में नाम आया है, तीनों ही वैलिड है. In common usage, we use these interchangeably, but technically a member of a company limited by guarantee may not hold shares. A debenture holder is not a member. Debenture holders are creditors. ये distinctions कभी कभी आता है एग्जाम्स में. तो ICAI का एक एग्जाम पैटर्न है, हम देख लेते हैं इसी टॉपिक के ऊपर. So we'll deal with the question. So question 1, again it is for 3 marks and a very direct question. So define body corporate under the Companies Act 2013. Is a company incorporated outside India a body corporate for the purposes of the act? Are cooperative societies including in the definition? So मैं एक मॉडल आंसर बता देती हूँ, जस्ट एक आउटलाइन टाइप. आई वांट यू टू गो थ्रू दिस एंड देन आई आल्सो वांट यू टू अटेम्प्ट दिस क्वेश्चन योरसेल्फ. सी प्लीज, मैं बार बार उस चीज को एम्फसाइज करती रही हूँ, मतलब आगे भी करती ही रहूंगी कि जब भी हम एक टॉपिक करेंगे उससे रिलेवेंट हम क्वेश्चन भी साथ के साथ देख लेंगे, सो दैट द टॉपिक गेट्स इम्बाइब्ड इन योर मेमोरी वेरी वेल. So while I'm doing this, I want support from you guys also. I want you to attempt from your end. Of course, model answer रहेंगे. You can pause the video, attempt the answer. एक short points लिख लीजिए अगर पूरा का पूरा अभी फ्रेम नहीं करना चाहते आंसर को, not a problem. And then you can go through the model answer. कुछ additional point हुए तो हमने वहीं के वहीं add कर लिए. It will be very easy for you to remember this topic and attempt the questions later on. Okay, so we'll go back to the model answer. It will be like section 2 subsection 11 of the Companies Act defines body corporate as follows, and the definition would be like body corporate or incorporation includes a company incorporated outside India but does not include first a cooperative society registered under any law relating to cooperative societies, and second any other body corporate specified by the central government by notification. Next question was, is a company incorporated outside India a body corporate? Yes. Section 2 subsection 11 explicitly states that body corporate includes a company incorporated outside India. Then third part was, are cooperative societies included? The answer is no. Cooperative societies are expressly excluded from the definition of body corporate under section 2 subsection 11 part 1. Next we'll take question number 2. ये 2 marks का direct question है. The question is, in how many ways can a person become a member of a company under section 2 subsection 55 of the Companies Act 2013? So model answer हमने अभी थोड़ी पहले डिस्कस भी किया था. So there are 3 ways. First is by subscribing to the memorandum. Second is by agreeing in writing and having name registered in having name entered in register of members. And third, by holding equity shares in demat form with name as beneficial owner in depository records. Okay, so next we'll move to our block 2. Block 2 is promoter, related party and debenture. First we'll take into consideration the stakeholder definitions. और हम पहले ये भी जान लेते हैं कि ये ब्लॉक इतना जरूरी क्या है. सो बेसिकली जो लोग कंपनी के पीछे हैं, द प्रोमोटर्स, और इन जिन लोगों से कंपनी का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट होता है या हो सकता है, जैसे रिलेटेड पार्टीज, इन्हें डिफाइन करना एसेंशियल है. बिना ये जाने यू कैन नॉट अंडरस्टैंड द कंप्लायंस ऑब्लिगेशंस दैट सराउंड देम. So we'll move ahead with the definition of promoter, which is explained in section 2 subsection 69. So promoter means a person A who has been named as such in a prospectus or is identified by the company in the annual return referred to in section 92, or B who has control over the affairs of the company directly or indirectly, whether as a shareholder, director or otherwise, or C in accordance with whose advice, directions or instructions the board of directors of the company is accused to act, provided that nothing in some clause C shall apply to a person who is acting merely in a professional capacity. तो आसान भाषा में समझते हैं हम कि 3 तरीके से प्रमोटर बनते हैं, तो उनको समझते हैं पहले. फर्स्ट इज नेम्ड इन प्रोस्पेक्टस और एनुअल रिटर्न. If the company itself identifies you as a promoter in its public documents, you are a promoter. Most straightforward definition, most straightforward way out. Second is control over affairs. ये प्रैक्टिकल डेफिनेशन है, चाहे तुम डायरेक्टर हो, शेयर होल्डर हो या कोई और रोल में हो, अगर तुम कंपनी के अफेयर्स डायरेक्टली या इनडायरेक्टली कंट्रोल करते हो, देन यू आर अ प्रमोटर. थर्ड इज बोर्ड एक्ट्स ऑन योर एडवाइस. अगर बोर्ड तुम्हारे इंस्ट्रक्शंस, डायरेक्शंस या एडवाइस पर चलने की आदत है बोर्ड को, तो तुम प्रमोटर हो. बट प्रोफेशनल कैपेसिटी का एक एक्सेप्शन है कि अगर एक सीए, लॉयर या कंसल्टेंट प्रोफेशनल कैपेसिटी में कंपनी को एडवाइस दे रहा है तो प्रमोटर नहीं है, इवन इफ बोर्ड रेगुलरली फॉलोज हिज और हर एडवाइस. नाउ व्हाई डज दिस डेफिनेशन मैटर? Promoters have a significant obligation: disclosure of their shareholding, compliance with insider trading regulations, responsibilities in case of misstatements in prospectus. इसलिए इन्हें precisely define करना जरूरी था. एक ट्रिक देख लेते हैं कि प्रमोटर कौन है. कंपनी का असली मालिक या उसके पीछे का आदमी, जो भी नाम में हो, कंट्रोल में हो या एडवाइस, उसकी एडवाइस पर बोर्ड चलता हो, वो प्रोफेशनल है तो बाहर है, अदरवाइज वो प्रमोटर है. ठीक है. Next, we'll see related party, which is explained in section 2, subsection 76. Now, this is a definition that appears in both direct definition questions and application based questions. तो इसको जरा ध्यान से पढ़िए और ध्यान से सुनिए भी. Related party with reference to a company means 1. A director or his relative. 2. A key managerial personnel or his relative. 3. A firm in which a director, manager or his relative is a partner. 4. A private company in which a director, manager or his relative is a member or director. 5. A public company in which a director or manager is a director and holds along with his relatives more than 2% of its paid up share capital. 6. Any body corporate whose board, MD or manager is accustomed to act on the advice of a director or manager of the company. 7. Any person on whose advice, directions or instructions a director or manager is accustomed to act. 8. Any body corporate which is a holding, subsidiary or associate company or a subsidiary of a holding company to which it is also a subsidiary, that is fellow subsidiary. Then 9. Such other person as may be prescribed. ये बहुत लंबा definitions हैं, I know. Let me simplify the logic. So see, there are 3 categories of related party. Category 1 होती है internal people, जिसमें आएंगे directors और उनके relatives, KMPs plus unke relatives. KMPs is your key managerial persons. You must be knowing that now. Category 2 is entities. They control or are connected to. So इसमें आएंगे firms where directors or managers are partners, private companies where they are members or directors, public companies where they hold more than 2% shares, or plus there are directors. 2% of paid up share capital plus they are directors also. Then category 3 है corporate relationships की. Holding, subsidiary, associate, fellow subsidiaries, plus entities that act on directors' advice or whose governance directors influence. Okay, now why all this matter? So the related party transactions refer to any deal between a company and its related parties. They require special approval and disclosure क्योंकि जब तुम अपने घर वालों से बिजनेस करते हो, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट का रिस्क होता है. लॉ ने सर्वेलेंस में रखा है ऐसे ट्रांजैक्शंस को. अब यहाँ पे हम देख लेते हैं एक ICAI का ट्रैप कि स्टूडेंट जो है वो भूल जाते हैं दैट अ कंपनी रिलेटेड is a related party only when the director or manager holds more than 2% of its paid up capital and is a director there. Both the conditions have to be satisfied. Just being a director in another public company without the 2% shareholding does not make it a related party. Students often write, any public company where the director is a director? No, that is wrong. He or she should also hold more than 2% of its paid up capital. So now we'll move ahead with the debentures. The definition is explained in section 2, subsection 30. Debenture includes debenture stock, bonds, or any other instrument of a company evidencing a debt, whether constituting a charge on the assets of the company or not. Simple है. Debenture मतलब एक document जो company का debt proof करता है. Could be secured, that is your charge on assets, or unsecured where there is no charge. So now here note the word includes. This is a non-exhaustive definition. Bonds, debenture stock सब include होते हैं. Even unnamed instruments that evidence a debt, they're also included. So now why does whether constituting a charge or not matter here? Because students sometimes think only secured instruments are debentures, which is wrong. Even unsecured debentures like naked debentures are still debentures under this definition. Remember, debenture holder is not equal to member. Debenture holder is a creditor of the company. Member is an owner. Debenture holder gets fixed interest whether company profits or not. Members, especially equity shareholders, they get dividends only if company profits. ये fundamental difference है. तो अब हम एक स्टूडेंट्स का जो जनरल कंफ्यूजन होता है वो भी देख लेते हैं. सो स्टूडेंट्स ऑफन आस्क कि मैम कैन अ प्रमोटर बी अ डायरेक्टर ऑफ अ कंपनी? ऑफ कोर्स यस. इन मोस्ट इंडियन कंपनीज प्रमोटर्स आर द डायरेक्टर्स. Being a promoter and being a director are not mutually exclusive. The promoter definition under section 2 subsection 69 and the director definition under section 2 subsection 34 operate independently. The implication is important for exam questions. A person who is both a promoter and a director has obligations under both set of rules. Promoter obligations plus director obligations दोनों लागू होंगे. Okay, now we'll see some sample questions. We'll go with question number 3. We are starting from beginning ना. So अभी हमारा थर्ड क्वेश्चन आया, 4 मार्क्स है, एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड है. ABC Limited is a public company. Mr. Sharma is a director on the board of ABC Limited. He's also a director on the board of DEF Limited, another public company. He does not hold any shares in DEF Limited. Now, is DEF Limited a related party of ABC Limited under section 2 subsection 76? We'll go with model answer. So, under section 2 subsection 76 part 5th of the Companies Act 2013, a public company is a related party of another company if a director of the other company A is a director of that public company and B holds along with his relatives more than 2% of its paid up share capital. So in the given case, Mr. Sharma is a director on the board of DF Limited. So first condition is satisfied. However, he does not hold any shares in DF Limited. So the second condition is not satisfied of more than 2% shareholding. So conclusion is, since both the conditions are not cumulatively satisfied, hence DF Limited is not a related party of ABC Limited under section 2 subsection 76 part 5th. Next we'll see question number 4, 2 marks का, ये एक direct question है. So question is a debenture holder a member of a company? Give reasons. So model answer है आपका कि नहीं, a debenture holder is not a member of the company. A debenture holder is a creditor. They have lent money to the company and are entitled to fixed interest and repayment of principal. Membership under section 2 subsection 55 requires either subscription to the memorandum, entry in the register of members, or holding equity shares as a beneficial owner in a depository. A debenture holder satisfies none of these criteria. Member is owner, debenture holder is a lender, is a creditor. Next, we'll move to block 3 of KMP, managing director, whole time director and manager. We'll see management role definitions now. And first we'll also look into why this block matters. तो ये वो लोग हैं जो कंपनी को एक्चुअली रन करते हैं. लॉ ने इन्हें स्पेसिफिकली डिफाइन किया है क्योंकि सर्टेन ऑब्लिगेशंस हैं, पेनल्टीज हैं, पावर्स हैं जो विच आर अटैच्ड टू दीज रूल्स. सो कौन केएमपी है, कौन एमडी है, क्या फर्क है इनमें, ये सब एग्जाम में डायरेक्टली आ जाता है. सो we'll move ahead with first definition of key managerial personnel, that is your KMP. It is defined in section 2 subsection 51. So key managerial personnel or personnel, however you can say, in relation to a company means first the chief executive officer or the managing director or the manager, second the company secretary, third the whole time director, fourth the chief financial officer, or fifth the such other officer not more than one level below the director who is in whole time employment designated as KMP by the board, and sixth such other officer as may be prescribed. Okay, so KMP कौन हुआ? KMP is equal to CEO or MD or manager plus your company secretary plus your whole time director plus your chief financial officer plus your board designated officer. Now why did law create the KMP concept? तो बात ऐसी है कि गवर्नेंस में अकाउंटेबिलिटी फिक्स करनी थी. पहले जब कोई वायलेशन करता था तो कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल है का सवाल उठता था और सब एक दूसरे पर ब्लेम करते थे. केएमपी डेजिग्नेशन ने फिक्स किया कि ये स्पेसिफिकली नेम्ड रोल्स आर अकाउंटेबल, इन्हें पनिश करो वायलेशंस के लिए. ओके, तो एक मेमोरी ट्रिक ले लेते हैं सबसे पहले कि केएमपी में 3 लेयर्स हैं. टॉप सीईओ या एमडी या मैनेजर, देन मिडल इज योर होल टाइम डायरेक्टर, सपोर्ट सीएस और सीएफओ. ये 5 रोल्स प्लस बोर्ड डेजिग्नेटेड ऑफिसर इज इक्वल टू योर KMP. Now, which companies must have whole time KMPs? Now, these are mandatory for every listed company and every public company with paid up share capital of rupees 10 crores or more. Now, such companies must have these KMPs in whole time employment, MD or CEO or manager, and in their absence, a whole time director. Then company secretary should also be there. Then chief financial officer should also be there. So now एक ट्रैप देखते हैं. स्टूडेंट जनरली क्या लिखते हैं कि every company must have a KMP. That is wrong. The mandatory KMP जो requirement है that applies to listed companies and public companies with rupees 10 crore plus paid up capital. A small private company does not need to mandatorily appoint KMPs. अब हमारा नेक्स्ट टॉपिक देखते हैं जो कि है मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर विच इज डिफाइंड इन सेक्शन 2 सबसेक्शन 54. So managing director means a director who, by virtue of the articles of a company or an agreement with the company or a resolution passed in its general meeting or by its board of directors, is entrusted with substantial powers of management of the affairs of the company and includes a director occupying the position of managing director by whatever name called. So यहाँ पे key phrase है that is substantial powers of management. Now, why does law define MD separately from a regular director? This is because an MD has significantly more power than an ordinary director. He runs the day-to-day affairs. He has substantial director authority. Then this power comes with both privilege and accountability. Hence, the law defines him specifically. Now, you have to note that the phrase by whatever name called, this phrase, okay, so even if someone is not titled as managing director, but effectively holds those substantial management powers, they fall under this definition. Next, we'll see the whole-time director. It is defined in section 2, subsection 94. Whole-time director includes a director in the whole-time employment of the company. This is clean and simple. A director who is also a full-time employee of the company. Two roles in one person, which means employment contract भी है वहां पर और directorship भी है. Now, why does this matter? A whole-time director can be counted towards the mandatory KMP requirement when no MD or CEO is present. Also, whole-time directors are automatically officers in default, which has penalty implications. Next, we'll move ahead to the definition of manager, which is defined in section 2, subsection 53. Now, manager means an individual who, subject to the superintendence, control and direction of the board of directors, has the management of the whole or subsidiary the whole of the affairs of a company and includes a director or any other person occupying the position of a manager by whatever name called and whether under a contract of service or not. So यहाँ पे की phrase है वो क्या है? Subject to the superintendence, control and direction of the board. Now, why is this different from an MD? ये distinction बहुत important है और एग्जाम में डायरेक्टली पूछा जाता है. तो अभी स्टूडेंट्स जनरली पूछते हैं कि सर कैन अ कंपनी हैव बोथ एन MD एंड अ मैनेजर एट द सेम टाइम? द आंसर इज नो. A company cannot have both a managing director and a manager simultaneously. The Companies Act does not permit it. They are alternative options. You appoint one or the other and not both. Reason क्या है? Both the MD and manager run the whole or subsidiary the whole affairs of the company. Two people cannot simultaneously hold authority over the same entire sets of affairs. It would create governance confusion. तो अब हम देख लेते हैं एक चार्ट वे में है, आपकी स्क्रीन पर भी आएगा होपफुली, और अगर नहीं आ रहा है तो ठीक है, मैं बता रही हूँ, आप इमीडिएटली कैन नोट डाउन. हम देखते हैं अभी मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर वर्सेस होल टाइम डायरेक्टर वर्सेस मैनेजर. वील टॉक अबाउट द डिस्टिंक्शन. नाउ दिस कंपैरिजन अपीयर्स एज अ डायरेक्ट एग्जाम क्वेश्चन, सो आई एम जस्ट एक्सप्लेनिंग यू इन पॉइंटर वाइज इन अ वेरी क्लीन वे. सो फर्स्ट पॉइंट ऑफ डिस्टिंक्शन इज द डेफिनेशन. Managing director is a director with substantial managing powers. Whole-time director or your WTD, he is a director in whole-time employment. Whereas a manager, he is an individual under both supervision, managing whole or substantially whole affairs. Next point is of source of authority. MD's source of authority is articles or agreement or resolution. WTDs are employment contract, and for manager, it is either contract or appointment. Next point is works under which board. Whether he or she works under a board. So MD's work under board is relatively independent. He works relatively independent of the board. Whole-time directors is relatively independent of the board, whereas manager is directly under board superintendence. Next point is whether he needs to be a director. So MD, yes, he must be a director. WTD, of course, he must be a director, but a manager does not necessarily need to be a director. He can be a non-director also. Then next point of distinction is can manage MD or manager, can a company have both of them together? So it is not allowed. A manager cannot coexist with an MD. तो अभी हम एक समराइज कर लेते हैं इसको कि MD को कंपनी ने पावर्स दी हैं. बोर्ड से रिलेटिवली इंडिपेंडेंट, WTD फुल टाइम एम्प्लॉय डायरेक्टर है और मैनेजर बोर्ड के अंडर काम करता है, पावरफुल है लेकिन ऑटोनोमस नहीं है। और एक इंपॉर्टेंट बात कि कंपनी में MD और मैनेजर एक साथ नहीं हो सकते। ओके, सो अब हम एग्जामिनेशन पैटर्न देख लेते हैं ICAI का। विल टेक अप क्वेश्चन नंबर 5। Question number 5 is distinguish between managing director and manager under the Companies Act 2013. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to make certain pointers and then you can take reference from what I'm telling you is. We have discussed most of the part just above. So, first point is meaning. So, managing director as defined in section 2 subsection 54 is a director entrusted with substantial powers of management, whereas a manager as defined in section 2 subsection 53 is an individual who manages whole or substantially whole affairs. The next point is when he or she must be a director. Then MD, yes, he must be a director of the company, and for manager, it is not necessary. He or she can be a non-director as well. Next point is relationship with board. Then for an MD, he exercises powers more independently, whereas a manager, the power or his actions are subject to superintendent's control and direction of board. Then source of authority. For MD, it is sourced in articles, agreement, board resolution or GM resolution, whereas for manager, it is sourced through contract of service or otherwise. Now, can both of them coexist? So, a company cannot have both MD and manager simultaneously. Then for name, the MD must hold the position by whatever name called, whereas a manager also, he can hold the position by whatever name called. He must. Then conclusion we'll take up. The conclusion is that the key distinction is that an MD has independent substantial powers, while a manager operates under the board supervision. Additionally, a manager need not be a director, while an MD must be a director. उनके नाम में ही डायरेक्टर है, तो उनका डायरेक्टर होना तो कंपलसरी है ही। Next question is, it is an application based question for 3 marks. So your question is that Sunshine Limited is a public company with paid up share capital of rupees 8 crore. The company does not have a managing director, CEO, company secretary or CFO. Has the company violated any provisions of the Companies Act 2013? Now please quickly jot down some pointers. If you can pause the video and write the complete answer also. And whereas we will move ahead with the model answer. So the model answer should be that under the Companies Act 2013, the mandatory KMP requirement applies to every listed company and every public company with paid up capital of rupees 10 crores or more. This is as per Companies Act 2013 read with the applicable rules. Now in the given case, Sunshine Limited is a public company, but its paid up capital is rupees 8 crore, which is less than rupees 10 crore. Therefore, the mandatory KMP requirement does not apply to Sunshine Limited. So conclusion is that Sunshine Limited has not violated any mandatory KMP provision. However, it may voluntarily appoint KMPs and if it crosses rupees 10 crore paid up capital at any point, mandatory compliance will become applicable. Next, we'll move ahead with next block, which is of officer in default. So why is this so important? तो ये definition CA Intermediate के सबसे ज्यादा tested definitions में से एक है। जब भी एक्ट में लिखा होता है कि ऑफिसर इन डिफॉल्ट शैल बी लायबल टू पेनल्टी, तो एग्जाम में सवाल आता है कौन वो ऑफिसर है। इस डेफिनेशन के साथ कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करना है। नाउ व्हाई डिड लॉ नीड दिस डेफिनेशन? बड़ी कंपनीज में थाउजेंड्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज होते हैं, जब कोई वायलेशन होती है आप सबको पेनलाइज नहीं कर सकते हैं। लॉ को आइडेंटिफाई करना था स्पेसिफिकली कौन से लोग वायलेशंस के लिए अकाउंटेबल हैं, तो वही एनलिस्ट करने के लिए आया है हमारा सेक्शन 2 सबसेक्शन 16। So we'll take up section 2 subsection 60. Officer in default means any of the following officer of a company who is in default. पहला आता है whole time director, that is your WTD. Every WTD is automatically an officer in default for violations occurring during their tenure. तो इसके पीछे लॉजिक क्या था कि WTD is full time employed and has direct access to operations. If a violation happens in the company, they either knew, should have known or had the power to prevent. Next है key managerial person, your KMPs. So every KMP, whether CEO, MD, manager, CS, CFO is an officer in default. इसके पीछे लॉजिक है वही जो होल टाइम डायरेक्टर WTD वाला है कि KMPs run the company. Violations in their domain is equal to their accountability only. Then next है when there is no KMP, directors specified by board or all directors. So if the company has no KMP, the board must specify in writing which directors are responsible for compliance. If no director is specified, then all directors become officers in default. So इसके पीछे logic क्या है कि accountability cannot have a vacuum. Okay, if no KMP exists to bear responsibility, it falls on whoever the board designates. And if the board doesn't bother to designate anyone, then all directors shall share the burden. KMP नहीं है, बोर्ड ने भी किसी को स्पेसिफाई नहीं किया, तो सबके सर पर लायबिलिटी आएगी. ये प्रोविजन इसलिए बना कि बोर्ड्स अकाउंटेबिलिटी से नहीं बचा सकती by simply not appointing anyone. Then fourth is person in charge of accounts or records who actively participates in or knowingly permits the default. So any person who under the authority of the board or a KMP is responsible for maintaining, filing or distributing accounts or records and who either authorizes the default or actively participates in it or knowingly permits it or knowingly fails to prevent it. तो मतलब जानबूझ के किया हुआ सारा काम हो. सो इसके पीछे लॉजिक क्या है? द पर्सन हु एक्चुअली मेंटेन्स द बुक, फाइल्स द रिटर्न्स, हैंडल्स द रिकॉर्ड, इफ दे नोइंगली अलाउ अ वायोलेशन, दे आर अकाउंटेबल. मतलब वो ये नहीं बोल सकता ना कि आई वाज जस्ट फॉलोइंग ऑर्डर्स. दैट इज नॉट अ कंप्लीट डिफेंस. ही और शी विल बी हेल्ड अकाउंटेबल. Fifth is any person on whose advice or directions the board is accustomed to act, except professional advisors. Now, if the board habitually acts on someone's instruction or advice, that person is an officer in default. Exception क्या है यहाँ पे? This is the most tested part of this definition. Okay, please listen very carefully. Provided nothing in this clause shall apply to a person who gives advice to the board in a professional capacity. A chartered accountant giving audit or tax advice, a company secretary giving secretarial advice, a lawyer giving legal advice, none of them are officers in default, even if the board regularly follows their advice. तो जो प्रोफेशनल कैपेसिटी में काम करता है, वो सीए हो, सीएस हो, लॉयर हो, वो बोर्ड को इन्फ्लुएंस करता है एडवाइस से, लेकिन अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं आती है उनके ऊपर. प्रोफेशनल ड्यूटी है उनकी, वायलेशन की नहीं है. ये एक्सेप्शन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, एग्जाम में डायरेक्टली पूछा जाता है, तो प्लीज ध्यान रखिएगा. Then sixth is every director aware of the contravention who did not object. So any director who received the board proceedings that contained the contravention and did not object is an officer in default. Also, any director where the contravention happened with their consent or connivance. So इसमें logic क्या हो गया कि silence is equal to acquiescing. If you sat in the meeting, read the papers, knew what was happening and said nothing, you cannot claim ignorance later. कि वो जो statement है ना कि मैं तो बस बैठा था, वो वाला डिफेंस नहीं चलेगा यहाँ पे. Seventh is in respect of issue or transfer of shares, the officer specifically in charge. So for violations specifically relating to issue or transfer of shares, the officers in charge of that function is the officer in default. तो यहाँ पे उसको मैं आपको एक समराइज कर देती हूँ. 7 सब क्लॉजेस जो हैं इसके. ऑफिसर इन डिफॉल्ट कौन कौन होते हैं? 1 is whole time director, your WTD. 2nd is your key managerial personnels or your KMP. 3rd is board specific director या all director अगर कोई KMP नहीं है तो. अगर कोई KMP नहीं भी है तो भी. फिर 4th है person in charge of accounts who knowingly permits default. 5th है person on whose advice board acts except the professional advisors. 6th है director who knew but didn't object or consented or connived. Then 7th है officer in charge of share issue or transfer for those specific violations. So WTD और KMP ये ऑटोमेटिक है. बोर्ड के इंस्ट्रक्शन पे काम करने वाले इंक्लूडेड प्रोफेशनल्स छोड़ के. फिर जानते थे जो चुप रहे वो भी इंक्लूडेड हैं. शेयर ट्रांसफर में जो ऑफिसर्स इन्वॉल्व है वो भी इंक्लूडेड है. अब यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट्स को एक जनरल कंफ्यूजन होती है, वो देख लेते हैं. स्टूडेंट्स जनरली पूछते हैं कि मैम इफ कंपनी सीए साइनिंग द ऑडिट रिपोर्ट एंड द कंपनी हैज कमिटेड अ फ्रॉड इन इट्स बुक, इज द सीए एन ऑफिसर इन डिफॉल्ट? सो दिस इज अ वेरी एक्सीलेंट एंड एग्जाम रिलेवेंट क्वेश्चन. द आंसर इज नो. The auditing CA is not an officer in default under section 2 subsection 60 part 5 because they are acting in a professional capacity. The express exception in in sub clause 5 protects professional advisors. However, this does not mean the auditor has no liability at all. Now, under section 143, which is auditor's duties, an auditor who fails to detect or report fraud may face separate action, but that is different from being an officer in default under section 2, subsection 60. So do not confuse these two types of liability. फिर एक और एग्जामिनेशन टाइप का पैटर्न देख लेते हैं हम. क्वेश्चन लेते हैं, 4 मार्क्स का डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन है. दिस इज आवर क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 फॉर दिस लेक्चर. Who is an officer in default under section 2 subsection 60 of the Companies Act 2013? Name any 4 categories of persons who may be considered as officers in default. Also state one person who is expressly excluded from this definition. So please quickly note down your answers. Meanwhile, we'll go with our model answer. So under section 22, subsection 60 of the Companies Act 2013, officer in default means any of the following officers of a company who is in default. So 4 categories हैं. 1 is every whole-time director of the company. 2 is every KMP including CEO, MD, manager, company secretary and CFO. 3 is where there is no KMP, then the director specified by the board in writing, or if no such specification is there, then all the directors. Then 4th is any person under the authority of the board or KMP who is responsible for accounts or records and who knowingly permits or fails to prevent the default. Now person expressly excluded कौन से वो भी देख लेते हैं. A person who gives advice to the board in a professional capacity, such as a practicing CA or CS giving professional services, is expressly excluded under the proviso to section 2 subsection 60 subclause 5. नेक्स्ट देखते हैं एक एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड क्वेश्चन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 होगा वो लेक्चर का. दिस इज फॉर 3 मार्क्स. नाउ मिस्टर वर्मा इज अ डायरेक्टर ऑन द बोर्ड ऑफ PQR लिमिटेड. He received the agenda and minutes of all board meetings but never attended any meeting and did not raise any objection in writing. The company later committed a default under the Companies Act. Is Mr. Verma an officer in default? Please write down your answer. Pause the video and write down your answer. Meanwhile, we'll move ahead with our model answer. Now, under section 2, subsection 60, subclause 6 of the Companies Act 2013, every director who is aware of a contravention by virtue of receipt of any proceedings of the board and does not object to the same is an officer in default. Now, in the given case, Mr. Verma received the agenda and minutes of board meetings. He was therefore aware of the board's proceedings. Even though he did not attend the meetings, he received the proceedings and did not object in writing. So conclusion is that Mr. Verma is an officer in default under section 2, subsection 60, subclause 6. Non-attendance alone does not insulate a director from accountability if they are receiving board papers and staying silent. Next, we'll take up financial year, free reserves, net worth and turnover. Now, why these matter? Because the definitions directly trigger applicability of various provisions. ठीक है, तो CSR, KMP requirement, audit rotation, buyback limits, सब इन्हीं figures पे depend करते हैं. You get these right and half of your application based questions become very easy. First, we'll begin with financial year. It is defined in section 2, subsection 41. Financial year in relation to any company or body corporate means the period ending on the 31st March of every year. So default rule is always 31st March. इंडिया में सब कंपनीज का फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1 अप्रैल से 31 मार्च है, ये फिक्स्ड है. एक्सेप्शन नंबर 1 देखते हैं यहाँ पे, न्यूली इनकॉर्पोरेटेड कंपनीज. इफ अ कंपनी इज इनकॉर्पोरेटेड ऑन और आफ्टर द 1st January of a year, its first financial year can be extended up to 31st March of the following year. This means the first financial year can be up to 15 months long but not more than 15 months. तो अगर कंपनी 15 February 2025 को इनकॉर्पोरेट हुई है, एग्जाम्पल ले लेते हैं ये, तो उसका पहला फाइनेंशियल ईयर होगा 15 Feb 2025 से 31st March 2026 तक. दैट इज अप्रोक्सीमेटली 30.5 मंथ्स. ये अलाउड है क्योंकि 15 मंथ से कम है. अगर कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेटेड है 15 जुलाई 2025 को, तो उसका पहला फाइनेंशियल ईयर होगा 15 जुलाई 2025 से 31 मार्च 2026, अबाउट 8.5 मंथ्स. ये भी नॉर्मल है. या 15 जुलाई 2025 से 31 मार्च 27, ये होगा नहीं होगा क्योंकि ये 20 मंथ्स है. ये अलाउड ही नहीं है. 15 months is the maximum limit we can have. फिर एक्सेप्शन नंबर 2 देखते हैं, वो है फॉरेन कंपनीज एंड देयर इंडियन सब्सिडियरीज और होल्डिंग. The tribunal may allow a different financial year to a foreign company or a holding or subsidiary company of a company incorporated outside India if they follow a different financial year in their own company. So यहाँ पे हम एक ICI का ट्रैप देख लेते हैं. Suppose a company incorporated on 10th October can have its first financial year up to 31st March of the following year. This is actually fine. That's approximately 17.5 months from the October to March next year. It exceeds 15 months. तो आंसर हम क्या लिखेंगे इसका? अगर आपको सवाल आता है, आप इसको लिखेंगे कि नहीं, इट इज नॉट परमिटेड. हम ये सोच लेंगे कि अरे अक्टूबर है, 31st मार्च है. नहीं, you have to see following year it is saying. Okay. So many students don't do the math. They always check if the first year exceeds 15 months. If yes, the company must close its first financial year at 31st March of the same year. Next, we'll take up free reserves. They are defined in section 2, subsection 43. So free reserves means such reserves which, as per the latest audited balance sheet of a company, are available for distribution as dividend, provided that any amount representing unrealized gains, notional gains, or revaluation of assets shall not be treated as free reserves, and any change in carrying amount of an asset or liability recognized in equity, including surplus and profit and loss account, on measurement at fair value shall not be treated as free reserves. Simple logic है. Free reserves is equal to reserves that can be given out as dividend. This is equal to your real distributable and profit-based reserves. Now, what is not free reserves? क्या क्या free reserves नहीं है? So your revaluation surplus, you revalued a building from rupees 10 crore to rupees 15 crores. That 5 crore gain on paper is not a free reserve. The unrealized or notional gains, they are again not free reserves. Or your fair value changes in equity, that is also not a free reserve. Now, why does this distinction matter? So, for dividend payment, for buyback, for calculating limits under various sections, the law uses free reserves. If revaluation profits were included, companies could show inflated distributable reserves and mislead investors. इसलिए सिर्फ रियल प्रॉफिट विल बी इक्वल टू योर फ्री रिजर्व्स. तो फ्री रिजर्व्स का मतलब क्या हुआ कि जो डिविडेंड में दे सको वो रियल प्रॉफिट से बनी रिजर्व है. रिवैल्यूएशन से बना अनरियलाइज गेन या फेयर वैल्यू चेंज, ये सब बाहर हैं, ये फ्री रिजर्व नहीं है. नेक्स्ट वील सी नेटवर्थ एक्सप्लेन इन सेक्शन 2 सबसेक्शन 57. So net worth means the aggregate value of the paid up share capital and all reserves created out of the profits and securities premium account after deducting the aggregate value of the accumulated losses, deferred expenditure and miscellaneous expenditure not written off as per the audited balance sheet, but does not include reserves created out of revaluation of assets, write back of depreciation and amalgamation. So net worth का फॉर्मूला क्या करा है, हम ऐड करेंगे. क्या क्या आएगा उसमें? पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल ऐड होगी, रिजर्व क्रिएटेड आउट ऑफ प्रॉफिट्स जितने भी हैं वो सब ऐड हो जाएंगे, सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम अकाउंट ऐड हो जाएगा. अब सब्सट्रैक्ट क्या होगा इसमें से? एक्यूमुलेटेड लॉसेस सब्सट्रैक्ट होंगे, फिर डेफर्ड एक्सपेंडिचर सब्सट्रैक्ट होगा, देन मिसलेनियस एक्सपेंडिचर नॉट रिटन ऑफ भी सब्सट्रैक्ट होगा, एंड द फिगर दैट विल गेट विल बी योर नेट वर्थ. So what you have to exclude completely, please note down. Revaluation of reserves has to be excluded completely. Write back of depreciation reserves has to be excluded completely, and amalgamation of reserves is also be excluded completely. Now you might ask that why we have to exclude revaluation, write back and amalgamation? Because these are paper profits. These are not generated from actual business operations. Net worth should reflect the company's operational financial strength. Including paper gains would inflate net worth and mislead regulators, lenders, and investors. Now, where is net worth used in the Act? For CSR applicability, net worth should be equal to or more than rupees 500 crores. For audit rotation applicability for unlisted companies, for buyback of shares, where 25% of paid up capital and free reserves. Then for small company eligibility check. Now net worth is equal to company की असली फाइनेंशियल ताकत क्या है. ऐड करो रियल कैपिटल और रियल प्रॉफिट रिजर्व्स, माइनस करो accumulated losses और पेंडिंग एक्सपेंसेस. रिवैल्यूएशन, अमेलगमेशन, राइट बैक, ये सब बाहर रहेगा, ये सब पेपर का काम है, असली नहीं है. Then we'll see turnover defined in section 2 subsection 91. Turnover means the gross amount of revenue recognized in the profit and loss account from the sale, supply or distribution of goods or on account of services rendered or both by a company during a financial year. Turnover is equal to total turnover from goods plus services in a financial year. So note है कि ध्यान रखिएगा इसको कि it says gross amount before deducting any returns, discounts or expenses, and it covers both goods and services. Now where is turnover used? Again, for CSR applicability, turnover should be equal to or more than 1000 crore rupees. For small company, where turnover should be less than or equals to 40 crore rupees. For KMP mandatory appointment, for companies via threshold rules, for public companies, okay. Then secretarial audit applicability में आता है जिसमें turnover should be equal to or more than 250 crore rupees. अब students पूछते हैं कि मैम a company was incorporated on 5th November 2025. Can its first financial year end on 31st March 2027? So official first check from November 5, 2025 to 31st March 2027 approximately 16 months and 26 days बनते हैं. तो वो तो 15 days से वैसे ही ज़्यादा है, so therefore this is not permitted. The first financial year must end on 31st March 2026, approximately 4 months and 26 days. So अगर कोई short है first year, but that is the first rule when incorporated in second half of calendar year. That is after 1st July, more than 9 months would be needed to reach March next year. So less than 15 months applies. The 15-month exception only helps companies incorporated between 1st January and 31st March, giving them up to 15 months to reach the following 31st March. For companies incorporated in October, November, December, they simply close their first year at the nearest 31st March. अब ICA का एग्जाम पैटर्न देख लेते हैं हम. एक एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड भी और डायरेक्ट पे भी आता है वो क्वेश्चन. This is your question number 9 for this today's lecture and it is for 4 marks. Now question is that XYZ Limited was incorporated on 15 February 2025. When will its first financial year end? And ABC Limited was incorporated on 10th October 2025. When will its first financial year end? Give reasons for both. Now what I want you to do is I want you again pause your video and write down your answer. Meanwhile, we'll move ahead with our model answer. So first we'll take for XYZ Limited. It was incorporated on 15th Feb 2025. Now under section 2 subsection 41, the default financial year ends on 31st March. XYZ was incorporated after 1st January. It may extend its financial year up to 31st March of the following year, provided the total does not exceed 15 months. So from 15th February 2025 to 31st March 2026 is approximately 13.5 months. So it is well within the 15-month limit. So first financial year of XYZ Limited कब होगा? 31st March 2026 को end होगा. Next हम केस लेते हैं हमारा ABC Limited का. तो ABC Limited incorporate हुई थी 10th October 2025 को. Now from 10th October 2025 to 31st March 2027, it is a period of approximately 17.5 months, which exceeds the 15 months limit. Hence, it is not permitted. Therefore, ABC Limited's first financial year ends at 31st March 2026. That is approximately 5.5 months के बाद. Next is your question number 10. ये एक direct question है कि define net worth under section 2 subsection 57 of the Companies Act 2013. State any 2 items that are specifically excluded from net worth. So model answer देखते हैं हम कि as per section 2 subsection 57, net worth is equal to your paid up share capital plus reserves created out of profits plus security premium account minus accumulated losses minus deferred expenditure minus miscellaneous expenditure not written off. That is your as per your audited balance sheet. Now here 2 items are excluded. One is reserves created out of revaluation of assets because revaluation gains are notional and do not represent actual business profit. And 2 is reserves created from write back of depreciation because reversing depreciation is a non-cash accounting adjustment and a company does not earn genuine surplus out of this. तो अब हम देख लेते हैं top 5 ICAI traps on the basis of this lecture number 2. तो ये 5 ट्रैप्स हैं. ये लेक्चर 2 के टॉपिक्स में से वो स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट्स हैं जहां एग्जामिनर स्टूडेंट्स को पकड़ता है. ये एक एक करके इन सबको याद रखना है आप सबको. तो ट्रैप नंबर 1 is independent director cooling off period. The mistake that you guys make is that after completing 2 terms as independent director, the cooling off period is 2 years. Whereas the correct version is the cooling off period is 3 years and not 2. After 2 consecutive terms of 10 years, that is total of 10 years, an ID, that is your independent director, cannot be reappointed as an ID or in any other capacity in that company for at least 3 years. Now, where this appears, it appears in ID appointment questions, application-based questions on reappointment. So please keep this in mind. Next is step number 2, KMP mandatory requirement threshold. The mistake that you guys make here is that every company must mandatorily appoint KMP, that is your key managerial personnel. Whereas the correct answer is that only listed companies and public companies with paid up capital of more than or equals to 10 crore rupees shall have to mandatorily appoint the KMP. For private companies, however large they might be, they are in the mandatory KMP requirements unless specifically and separately prescribed. Now, where it appears in KMP questions and compliance check application questions. Next trap is trap number 3, officer in default. यहाँ पे प्रोफेशनल एडवाइजर एक्सेप्शन वाला हम देखेंगे. तो स्टूडेंट्स क्या मिस्टेक करते हैं कि द बोर्ड ऑलवेज फॉलो द एडवाइस ऑफ कंसल्टेंट, देन कंसल्टेंट इज एन ऑफिसर इन डिफॉल्ट. दिस इज द करेक्ट आंसर हियर शुड बी दैट section 2 subsection 60 subclause 5 expressly excludes persons giving advice in a professional capacity, which is CA, CS, advocate. They are giving professional services and they are not hence officers in default. Now, where it appears in any officer in default question. Frequently, the MCQ option will be a practicing CA who advises the company. And the correct answer there is that they are not an officer in default. Next, we'll see trap number 4 is financial year first year calculation. Mistake the students make here is that a company incorporated on 1st November can have its first financial year ending 31st March of the following year. So correct answer here would be that from 1st November to 31st March next year would be 17 months. Now this exceeds 15 months, hence it is not permitted. The first year must close at 31st March of the same financial year. That is within approximately 5 months of this case. Now where it appears on application based questions on first financial year. So always do the maths. Next is our trap number 5, which is on net worth. Now, what to exclude in net worth? That is very relevant here. So, mistake students do is that revaluation reserves are included in net worth. This is wrong. Correct would be that as per section 2, subsection 57, it explicitly excludes reserves created out of 1, revaluation of assets, 2, write back of depreciation, and 3, amalgamation. These are all paper adjustment and not earned surplus. अब ये क्वेश्चन कहाँ का आता है? नेटवर्थ कैलकुलेशन क्वेश्चंस में, CSR एप्लीकेबिलिटी क्वेश्चंस में, विच डिपेंड ऑन नेट वर्थ थ्रेशोल्ड ऑफ रुपीज 500 crores. अब एक एग्जाम राइटिंग में आपको गाइडेंस दे देती हूँ फॉर ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ लेक्चर 2 टॉपिक्स. सो टिप नंबर 1 क्या है? जहां पर भी डिफाइन वाले क्वेश्चंस आएंगे, दैट फॉर डिफाइन दिस, डिफाइन दैट, सो योर आंसर शुड बी अ 4-part स्ट्रक्चर. Every definition should have, first part would be section citation. Like for example, under section 2, subsection this of the Companies Act 2013. Then second is your statutory language. Quote the definition or closely paraphrase it as much as possible. This will earn you bonus marks. Then third is one-line explanation, what it means in plain English you just give. Then fourth part is key exception or qualification, if any. एग्जाम्पल ऑफिसर इन डिफॉल्ट में प्रोफेशनल एक्सक्लूजन है 4 parts का. स्टूडेंट्स हु राइट ओनली द डेफिनेशन एंड स्किप द एक्सेप्शन टिपिकली लूज द लास्ट मार्क. ओके. टिप नंबर 2 है फॉर डिस्टिंग्विश वाले क्वेश्चंस which involve the definitions. Never use prose. So when the question says distinguish between X and Y, always answer in a table. Minimum 5 rows. For MD versus manager, 5 rows, full marks. 3 rows, partial marks. Prose format में poor marks होगा, even if all the points are correct. जितना हो tabular बनाइए, howsoever possible. Okay. Then we'll see tip number 3, which is for officer in default questions. List subclauses numerically. When you are asked to list persons who are officers in default, write number 1 WTD, 2 KMP, 3. Do not write in paragraph form. I repeat, do not write in paragraph form. Sub-clause numbering shows the examiner you know the statutory structure and they award accordingly. So friends, that's it for lecture 2, which was based on chapter 1 critical definitions of your study material. अब chapter 1 complete है. lecture 1 ने हमें फाउंडेशन दी कि कंपनी क्या है, कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या है, क्लासिफिकेशन क्या है. lecture 2 ने हमें definitions दिए कि जो actual exam में directly marks लाते हैं. Now before lecture 3, what I want you to do is, I want you to take a blank sheet. You write down from your own memory 3 conditions for a subsidiary, then all 7 subclauses of officer in default, then the net worth formula, और फिर वो जो companies who need mandatory KMPs, जो आपको नहीं आता है समझ लीजिए वो आपका weak point है. आप वीडियो में उसी पॉइंट पे दोबारा जाइए, रिवाइज कीजिए एंड देन यू राइट डाउन. ओके, सो लेक्चर 3 में हम स्टार्ट करते हैं चैप्टर 2 से, विच इज मेमोरेंडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन. We'll deal with all 6 clauses in detail, alteration procedures and the first real application questions of this paper. अगर आपको आज का लेक्चर हेल्पफुल लगा, प्लीज लाइक दिस वीडियो और अपने सीए इंटर बैचमेट्स के साथ भी शेयर कीजिए. सब्सक्राइब कीजिए ब्रेनाक्युलर एकेडमी को ताकि कोई भी लेक्चर मिस ना हो. We'll see you in next one. Take care. Bye bye.